Hello, and welcome to the Better Dental Life podcast, where we speak with extraordinary individuals who inspire us by showing us new possibilities and shattering our limiting beliefs. On this podcast, we don't just talk about better smiles, we talk about better lives. I'm your host, Mark Davis. Welcome to another episode of the Better Dental Life podcast. I'm excited to welcome back my guest today, Dr. Arun Garg. As you know, Dr. Garg is a nationally recognized dental educator and surgeon, is considered the world's preeminent authority on bone biology, bone harvesting, bone grafting, wrote many books, #1 implant trainer in the US, and founder of Implant Seminars, which is the #1 implant training program. So, Dr. Garg, welcome back to the show.
Welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I don't want to turn this into too much of a commercial. We've already talked about you a lot in our last episode, and people can go back and listen to that if they want. But I want to talk about some of your courses, because you've had some great courses this month. And it was just we were in a group chat together, and I just got a notice of a course that you just finished that I'd never heard of and kind of blew my mind. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about that, the bichectomy and what that's for, and why people would be doing that.
So bichectomy, it's taking these cheek fat pads, okay? And ectomy usually means removal of. It's a bit of a misnomer. It is not removal of, it's removing a part of it. So it's thinning down. So an accurate term would be buccal fat reduction would be the actual proper name for it, okay? But folks have started, the laymen have started calling it bichectomy. So that name is kind of stuck in the lay literature. And I've never heard of bichectomy, and that might be the case. Consumers actually have. It's the doctors that may or may not have.
That's just, I didn't know about it.
No, and a lot of folks. And is what it is if we're talking about thinning out the buccal fat, the procedure, taking that buccal fat, has been around for decades. And as you and I were just talking, when I was in my residency, is you take a tooth out, is if you get an oral anterfistula, is you try to cover it with membranes, you try to cover the oral mucosa. A lot of time it still opens up because it's just not kind of hardy enough. So my mentor at that time, Dr. Klein, what he said is go in and take a little bit of the buccal fat. And it is actually about 3 or 4 minutes. You make a small slit, it kind of pops out and herniates out of there. And you stretch it across that oral anterfistula and then close the soft tissue over it. And now you had something hardy, is and not really a big harvest there. And that's been done routinely for decades. And not just by my mentor teaching it to me, but all over the country, this is done routinely is in offices. Is a number of years ago, and I don't even know how many, it might have been 8, it might have been 10 or so, is I think Angelina Jolie was the first one out of kind of the movie stars, where she went in and got this done electively. A little bit more than what would be taken just for oral anterfistula, got more of it taken, and some like this kind of effect. And if you Google it and you look at before and after pictures, you'll see it looks more chiseled. And it looks like she works out her face, like exercises it. And when she started doing it, a lot of these Hollywood folks started doing it. They didn't talk about it much, but a lot of them were getting this done. And I don't know, I mean, is who is doing it for them, whether it's oral maxillofacial surgeons who feel very comfortable with the procedure, whether it's plastic surgeons who typically don't feel comfortable with this procedure. And I think a lot of it was probably dual degree guys, oral surgeons that were DDS, got an MD, also did a cosmetic or plastic surgery fellowship, dual degree. They were probably the first ones pioneering it, although I don't know that for sure as a cosmetic procedure. And I don't know who did Angelina Jolie's, but it started to take off a little bit. And where it really took off much more rapidly than the US was in Central and South America. In the Latin American community is its Spanish name, bichectomia, okay, is everyone knows it, okay, is I'm in Miami, a lot of my team members are Spanish. We have a clinic in Arizona, a lot of team members there are Spanish. As soon as I say the word bichectomia to them, they'll go, oh, my friend had it.
Sign me up. I want it. Yeah.
And in the US, even the consumers know about it a little bit less, and the doctors even less so. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do this course? We get a lot of people taking Botox courses from us, as you know. We get a lot of people taking dermal fillers with commercial fillers like Juvederm Restylane courses, or dermal fillers with things like PRP biofillers, we call it. And so we got Botox courses and is commercial fillers and biofillers, and even things like Kybella, which dissolves at, double chin down here, and or threads, which are basically a suture, but like a fish hook has a hook on it. So it goes in, doesn't come out. They take a suture and notch it, so it's barbs. You put it in and pull, and becomes almost a non-surgical facelift. So those courses we've had for a while. So I talked to some of his alumni about his bichectomy course, and they all seem enthusiastic. I didn't give it. A good buddy of mine, his name is Larry Grzilnik, and we met at Jackson Hospital. He was down there, is training at the same time that I was. And so we've known each other, you can imagine, for decades now. He did his dental degree up in the Northeast, and then did his oral maxillofacial surgery in the Northeast. Then he came to Miami to do 1 year just on orthodontic surgery. So he'd done 4 years of dental school, he'd done 4 years of oral maxillofacial surgery. He was doing orthodontic surgery, advancing jaws and retreating jaws and maxillas and such. And then he went on after that and did a 1 year is cosmetic plastic surgery fellowship under a dual degree maxillofacial as MD guy. And then after that, he actually went back to med school and got an MD also. And then after that, he went back and did a general surgery residency, cutting bellies open and taking.
And he just can't stop going to school.
Yeah,
that's his problem.
He understood the bony side, which oral maxillofacial surgeons understand well, and the soft tissue side, which plastic surgeons understand well. And he actually combines all of it. And he and I have been in touch, and we've done some other courses together, some of the Botox courses and such. And so I said, hey, maybe we should do this bichectomy course. It's kind of a fast procedure, as I told you, 5 minutes. I mean, can we put together a day of lecture material about this and then do a demonstration procedure? And we both kind of felt like we could. And I made some slides. He presented the whole course. I made some slides for him, and he made a bunch of his own slides, and he presented it. And we just did it this past Saturday in the Phoenix clinic. Not only is there going to be enough lecture materials, there's plenty of lecture material, because so many other things we could talk about at the same time. And there's a lot of interest, a lot of questions from folks. And then we did a demonstration, and it was just one demonstration, small group of just 10 doctors. And that's what we took, because we wanted everyone to be able to see the demonstration. It was the first time doing it. From the enthusiasm in the room, it's not going to be something we're going to do once a month, but we'll probably do it twice a year. So I'll probably schedule the next one in about 6 or 7 months. I just took, my iPhone and shot some video of it, shot a few pictures of it, and then, put it together. And I don't know how to do TikTok, so I asked someone to put together like a TikTok video, and that's what I showed you. I posted it, some of our chat rooms and stuff, and everyone loves seeing it, whether they do it in their practice or not. I mean, most of our CE programs, 100% of the people in the room implement, or at least 99% implement in the room. This may not be that. This is maybe something different, where it is not going to be out of the 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 will implement. It may be much smaller or even negligible. They all had a fun time. I didn't get a survey. I will in a few months to see if any of them or all of them or some of them implemented it. But it's very inexpensive. It was more kind of like just to see what's possible. And the more interesting part is, none of them knew how to take that buccal fat out for oral antiofficial repair.
Yeah, I was told that that's what you're supposed to do, but I've never done it.
And you're like, going, what?
Stop. Yeah, how do I find it? Yeah.
Right? Because you've always heard that, right? You might not have heard of the procedure for bichectomy for cosmetics, but you heard about it for oral antiofficials, right?
Yeah.
Well, everyone learned how to do that. Whether they do it for cosmetic procedures or not, I am convinced our usual track record of 100% or 99% will implement the procedure for a different purpose, for the original purpose, the oral antiofficial repair. And once it's like, wow, this is doable within our purview, stay out of danger, is 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I mean, when we were doing the demo, or when Larry was doing the demo, each side filming it, people asking questions and going slow, because on the iPhone, it shows the time of the video, right?
Right. Yep.
It was a 7-minute video per side. And it would have been super fast if we weren't waiting for, like, okay, I want and I want this, I want that, etc.
Yeah. Now, when you, so adding a new course like this, is there much anxiety about it? What does that feel like for you? Or is this small enough that it's like,
no, of course. I mean, it's, is behind the scenes, there's all kinds of things. That analogy they always use about like a duck above water.
Right. You're the underwater. That's what your heart's doing and your brain's going that way. Yeah.
And, so little things, because the clinic has all the equipment and such, but just to have it laid out nicely for this procedure. And so do they have the right things? And we make a list. Do we remember it correctly? Do we not remember it correctly? And then it's me making the list, but him doing the procedure. And he may have a slightly different needle holder he likes, for example.
Yeah.
A different scalpel blade handle he likes. So there's little nuances like that as well.
Now, how do you decide when a course is a big success? Like after you leave, you feel really good about it and you say, this was fantastic. What?
Well, we get reviews, of course, so we have them fill out reviews, and the reviews are fabulous on this. And what happened is actually we did the demo, finished at 5 o'clock, like right on time. I actually stepped out for a minute after the surgery. I thought, okay, he's going to say goodbye to everyone. And I had actually scheduled to interview a doctor for that clinic because we've got several doctors there. I was interviewing, going to add a doctor. I stepped out. I went to interview. I came back about 30, 45 minutes later and thought everyone would be gone. And I walked in, he and all the doctors were still there. And I was like a little confused. And they looked at me, they go, no, they want to talk about other stuff. So I'm just pulling up other lectures. Yeah. And that's the nice thing with having a computer. You can pull up other lectures.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I know you had a few weeks ago, you had another great course with a lot of positive reviews, was your All on X course. That one, I think, turned out really well. A little more mainstream, a little bigger group.
Very, very mainstream. That is kind of, in this one, this is talking about bichectomy for a cosmetic procedure. Very, very low tuition. It was just kind of because I knew it was kind of going to be for fun for people, but they got valuable thing to be able to close oral interfistula. All on X, all on 4, what we call FAIR, full arch implant rehabilitation. That is not super low tuition. It's normal tuition. Okay. It is something that, as you've seen, and as pretty much any dentist that's tuning in has exploded. And let's say over the past 5 years, it's been around for 25 years, the procedure. And it's been going a little more. And this past 5 years, it's gone up like this. And it seems to be no end in sight on this. And it's a lot of things. I think it's a high ticket item. So for practice is huge, 25,000 as an arch. So it's a nice chunk for the office. I think it is incredibly gorgeous because you control the teeth and the gum. So you don't have to worry about gingival recession on one tooth and no gingival recession on other teeth. So the aesthetics you can get is phenomenal on this. And so that makes it is super nice for patients. It's fast, so few procedures for patients. That makes it super nice for patients. It makes it super nice for dentists because all of that parallelism and trying to get every single implant lined up, here you just kind of stick them in and fix it all prosthetically with angle abutments. So it makes it a lot easier for the doctor. So I think it's allowing for, in a sense, ease of surgery. It's not completely easier because it is a bigger surgery, but in many respects, ease of surgery, in some respects, tougher. For patients, dramatic before and after pictures. There's almost nothing that I know of in dentistry
life-changing
as dramatic before and after pictures. Do a single crown, that's not as dramatic as before and after pictures. A root canal is no dramatic picture. Gum surgery is no dramatic before and after picture.
I think there's something about that and I want to talk a little bit later and we can get into it some more, but dentists that are not really loving what they're doing right now, a lot of that has to do with we're trying to get patients excited about treatment that isn't exciting. I mean, it's not fun to tell a patient that you've got a cavity. I know you didn't know about this. I know it didn't hurt, but I'm going to make it hurt. And it might hurt after I'm done. And we're trying to sell that. We know it's their best interest, but that's kind of depressing. It's not a dramatic change. It's not too exciting. And so when that's what we're selling, it's hard to sell. And I use selling on purpose because we don't like the idea of selling in dentistry, even though that's really what we do. We're hopefully selling something that is to change people's lives. And so we're talking to them about that treatment, but
so you to get a reaction from the doctors watching. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Cause everyone thinks used car salesman, right? But we are, I mean, everything is sales. I sell my wife on what I want to eat for dinner tonight or what movie we're going to watch. So it sells is all around our lives. But selling something we're not super excited about, it's not going to change their life. It's not going to really be a dramatic change is tough. Selling somebody on, hey, you can bite into apples again. You can smile and look amazing again. That's a lot more fun to sell. And then I think that gets exciting for dentists. That's one of the ways we can get more jazzed and excited about dentistry is doing those procedures. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. It's really taken off. And so for all of these reasons, and we'd been doing a course on it is I call it Full Arch Implant Rehabilitation Fair. It has a lot of different names out there. And we've been doing a course on it for about 10 years now. And just like we've seen the interest in it go up slowly and explode, we've seen the interest in terms of our courses do the same thing. I went from doing about one a year for about 10 guys to now training over 100 people a year. And so it's gone up, I don't know if exponentially, but close to exponentially, especially the last few years.
Right. And when I started and I don't do a lot of these, I do, a few a year.
Right.
But when I started doing them, it wasn't a separate course for you. It was part of kind of your master series. We would talk about it for a day.
Yes.
And now you have a whole course
Yeah.
dedicated to that.
And it was around that time, probably 5 years ago, we'd been doing the course about 5 years. Quintessence Publishing approached me and said, "Hey, I've done a lot of books through them, and we have a good relationship. As they said, we'd like a book on the All-on-X technique." And I said, "Well, as my passion, as you know, is on bone grafting and bone harvesting, and that's what I'm known for, and that's what my passion is. That's why I have the most lecture material, the most slides, the most written material." And I said, "Is this I do them, but this is not where my heart is." And I said, "I'm sure there's guys in the country that have done a lot more cases than me, and maybe you should get them to it, right?" And they said, "Actually, we're not so sure. They have done more cases than you, because we looked at the numbers you're doing, and and between what we're doing in the courses and what we're doing in the practice and what my associates are doing, but no one else has enough material on this." So I said, "Well, I can do my course handout." And I literally took my course handout, and I still have the old handouts. It was like a purple cover.
Yeah.
We had a course handout. They made it more of a brownish cover, but the picture on the cover looks very similar. And I took the handout. I was at dinner with the editor of Quintessa in Chicago, and I handed him the course handout. And I said, "Okay, if you want to take it back and review it, and if you think it's worthwhile, then of course I'll go through and edit it up and make it look a little bit nicer than the course handout.
Right.
And then of course your editors will make it even tighter as far as the English and grammar and such." And they had a contract to me in 48 hours. I mean, I don't know if you got on the way
Let's make it
home,
happen.
night, or the next morning. It's like they had all the signatures, all the lawyers signed up, they had a contract to me, and it's okay, now it's time for you to sign up. I'm like, okay. And it wasn't much work for me because I already had the manual, and they just did the editing on it, add a few more pictures to it, and it went in production. And normally a book takes about 2 years to get out. By the time they do everything, they were so excited about, they had it out within 6 months. Within 6
Wow.
months.
They knew there was this built up
Yeah.
demand. They knew this was just
Yeah.
really ready to take off.
And I just assumed that others had written books on this topic, and Quintessence has, over 600 different titles. And actually I looked through, and there's no other book they have on this topic at all. It's in the US, and they may have something international, but not the US. And in fact, it's become so popular. They contacted me this year because that book is now 4 years. This
Right.
is, old. And my bone book, I haven't updated that for 20 years. So the new edition is coming out in the fall, but it's 21 years later for the bone book. And you can imagine a lot of things have changed in bone grafting and bone harvesting. A lot stayed the same, but a lot's changed. But they waited 21 years to update, 22 years to do the second edition. This they've asked me for, submitting a second edition by this December.
Really?
4 years later.
Has much changed? Is there much more to put in? Is it going to be that different?
It is evolving quickly, because 4 years ago, most of the impressions were done with impression materials, and most of it was taking a denture and converting it. And now most of the impressions are 3D scanners that can scan even with no teeth there. Okay.
Yeah.
Most of it is a pre-made PMMA that doesn't have a palette, so you don't have to do all that acrylic work and grinding and everything. And so a lot has changed. And so I've got the newer pictures and things in there, newer chapters in there. But the point is, the topic is that hot. Is there?
Yeah. There's the demand. So that's awesome. It's a good month. Good month of courses.
And then what I've done
fantastic.
Well, for the course, I've just said, what is on a website for the fair technique, we actually put step one, just buy a book from Quintessa, $89. I mean, it's a very low investment, and you invest $89, you flip through it or you read it, and then you say, I got it. And I've had people that read the book and got it and implemented it, and good for them. I mean, it's just $89 and that's it. And, maybe a weekend of your time, and and they implemented it. And or you peruse it, or you say, I don't quite have it, but then you decide this is something I want to do and you take a course on it. Or you say, you know what, it's great. I perused it. It's something I don't want to do. It's an $89 investment and you still have it on your bookshelf. So there's a very, very low risk on this. It's $89. Get the book, read it. I'm excited. Go on. I'm excited. I understood it. Do it. I'm not excited. Put it away. And the courses, then we develop one where it is more lecture and model workshop, and then one where it is lecture and on live patient workshops that you do. Yeah.
And you do these multiple times a year then, the fair technique courses.
Yeah, this is almost monthly.
Yeah, that's great.
So once a year to monthly now.
The one other course I want to talk about you have coming up, and I want to talk about this too, because I'm excited that this course, Practice Management Continuum, is now included for all the dentists that I coach as in my 1 year Better Dental Life program. So tell me a little bit about that course.
Yeah, fantastic. Is what I'm known for is that Implant Continuum, which is 4 sessions, and then the Master Series, which is on bone grafting, 4 sessions. And we started these things. We used to do 6 sessions, 8 sessions, etc. We got it down. And we worked out systematic methods to get people trained in 4 2-day sessions. So basically 4 weekends, and for bone grafting in 2 weekends, 4 weekends, sorry. And then some of the guys, my business coaches, Robert Hargrove, is Jay Abraham, is Tony Robbins, is etc. Everyone has been kind of saying, you need to have something for business for dentists and use the same formula. If it's 4 weekends has worked and you've got systematic methods to get them trained in 4 weekends for is implants or bone grafting or in business training. And so we started that, and we launched it about 1.5 years ago, and is multiple speakers. This is not all me, where it's like Implant Continuum and the Master Series was all me doing all the lecturing. Here it is the best on their topic. So I kick it off with a day, and then and a little bit is on imagining the kind of practice you're going to have or build is in the future. Because once we like punch in where we're going on the GPS, obviously it gets much easier to get there than to just, I'm driving. Where are you driving to?
Right.
No idea. And so some of it is on that. Some of it is on things like, what do we measure to get there? For example, to get to our destination, we need the speedometer, we need the gas gauge, we need the fuel gauge. And so in dentistry, we wouldn't call them fuel gauge or gas gauge, we would call them KPIs, key performance indicators. So we need to know where we're going to, envision our practice, GPS. Our gauges, KPIs, is what to monitor to be sure we get to our destination with enough gas and, without overheating the engine, etc. And so talking about those types of things. And the next day is Joy Millis, and I've known her for decades, and she is phenomenal. Is a lot of folks that know Paul Homily, the two of them have always worked together. They actually were in practice together, and they've lectured together. Now they have, in the later years, they lecture separately. Their topics are very, very similar. And I find for them, in terms of the content in a lot of programs like this, is very similar. It's not always secret recipes. It's
right.
Common sense content, but the presentation style to engage you and hook you and excite you and make you laugh and make you cry and get that emotional impact, is they deliver that. There's a story, I think you and I both have heard that story, is everyone can remember where they were on 9/11.
Right.
But where were you on 9/10 or 9/12? No one remembers. Okay. They're both the date, but the difference was the emotional impact in 9/11. You remember, no emotional impact for 9/12. And so Joy Millis delivers the content with such emotional impact. And yes, people are laughing, and yes, people are happy, and yes, people do cry during her presentation. It brings up that kind of emotion, and it's so impactful. You remember everything, you implement everything. And I've had her as part of my continuum when it was longer. It used to be, instead of 4 weekends, it used to be about 6 weekends, and she would do a full day on that. And I had her in every single city that did my continuum. And so I did my continuum in 10 different cities. I had her in 10 different cities. So I had her 10 times a year doing the program. And that went on for about 10 years. So I've had her 100 different times, and I would listen to her most of the time. And that's what actually made my practices once I left the university so successful, because I had listened to her 100 times. And so I was still at the university. I implemented those ideas at the university, was the most highest producer by far compared to the other guys on the faculty. Went in private practice, all that knowledge behind me was able to implement it. So I've got her there for that full day. And she's talking about how to recover is the things in your own charts. Is if you did $1 million last year, if you go through the charts, you find there's another $1 million of unaccepted treatment plans.
Right.
And she goes through how the verbiage to use, and she gives you scripts and how to find those and how to get them back in. And even if you get 30% of them back in and do it from $1 million that you treated, $1 million that walked out, let me think about it, you get $300,000 in. And that's with zero marketing effort. That's just elbow grease. And so she goes through that. And so it's good for the doctors, it's good for the team members to come and hear it. And then the next session is a good friend of mine, a good alumni of mine, and he developed the curriculum for one of the major institutes out there that does this. And I don't know if I should say or not say, but one of the major institutes, but I can tell you the price. Their price is $100,000 a year is what that institute charges. And he developed the curriculum for it. They have since parted ways, but he has a content and the original curriculum for that institute that charges $100,000 a year. And he gives an entire 2-day program. The institute does a 2-day program and then monthly coaching and
right. Holding hands. Right. Yep.
So holding him. But the content part, this is the entire content of that $100,000 institute program. And he gives all of that. And he's got a very Southern folksy style, and talks about the things he did well in his own practices and things he didn't do well. And I found the doctors loved it and team members loved it. And it's things that are easy to implement. Once again, how to put in a bonus system actually works. Okay. I mean, some simple things like that. How to get some of the mundane things in the office done that no one is technically responsible for. Because there are things that you go, well, there are some things that everyone knows what they're responsible, but there are some things that actually no one's job description, just something new that came along. And if something new comes along, it might be, whose job description is, organizing the Christmas party. I mean, I don't think that's on any of my team members. Did we decide to do a Thanksgiving party? Is someone responsible for that? So a systematic way, I know it sounds like, how could that be? He's got a systematic way to even make those things happen, where it is not within someone's job description, where it does happen, and it happens very effectively and easily. And then the next session is we go through is a fellow that did not develop the curriculum for, but is a speaker for another major institute that's a $60,000 a year commitment. He's an alumni of ours, a good friend of ours. That is not the full curriculum for them, but that's the meat part of it that he delivers there is he delivers here. And he's given a full day on that. And then back to Joy Millis for another day is different content. And the fourth session is kind of wind up. I do some, and then I have a sort of a smorgasbord of other presenters that do about an hour and a half each, is on just specialized topics on, what is SEO, how to maximize your SEO for the office, how to maximize getting your Google reviews for the office. So each guy doing it, if he's a specialist SEO doing that, if he's a specialist on getting Google reviews, he does that. If he's a specialist on, is putting a blog site on your website, is he talks about that for an hour. And so that's kind of the 4 sessions. And the first year, just like with the bichectomy, we didn't quite know how it would go and how is the reviews we would get. I had reasonable expectations. They were through the roof. It is much, much higher than my reasonable expectations for it.
Yeah, this has been a great course. And this is a perfect fit for me and the people that I coach, because there are a lot of people that will want to go to the course and they will take all that information. They'll go back to their office and they're going to put it to work, implement it, and they're going to see incredible changes, huge growth. And then other people want a little bit more handholding. Other people want a little more coaching, a little more personal, month-to-month stuff.
Well, and the other nice
And
thing with your coaching is it is not just hand holding on the technical aspects, but with your coaching is the hand holding on the mindset.
yeah, and that's exactly
That's
right.
the most important part. You
Yeah,
know, you and I both know if you don't have the mindset right, nothing's going to happen. On the other hand, if you
yeah,
got the mindset right, then everything else, once you
right.
have the recipe, once you have the formula, is going to fall in place. So the
Yeah,
nice, and I think that's what makes your coaching unique out there, because I've
yeah,
taken literally every one of these different institutes on practice management, practice growth, etc. All of them within dentistry, and an equal amount outside of dentistry. I've spent over $350,000 in dentistry on these programs, and another
yeah.
$350,000 or more outside dentistry on these programs. And what I've seen is none of them have that aspect. The hand holding and technical aspect, yes, you can do that, and there are others. But the
And
mindset, nobody else has it other than you.
that's for people don't realize. I mean, we think that we can just learn a bunch of stuff and it'll go well. We'll have success, but 80% of our success is psychology
Yeah.
and getting us in the right mindset, getting us in the right emotion that we tie to getting those things done, and how we are when we're transformed, when we are a certain way, our practice is going to reflect that, because we are our practice more than any other profession. I mean, CEOs know this. CEOs have coaches, and but it's even more real because we're the product we're selling. Not only are we the CEO, but we're the product too. So we literally are our practice.
Yes.
And so, yeah, really, really key. And I think
Celine Dion in concert. You are Celine Dion. I mean, that's the
there you go.
yeah.
So yeah, if folks want to go right to the course and that's going to be enough for them, that's perfect. They can go to practicegrowthseminars.com, sign up. They can reach out to you, sign up. If people want to kind of go through a year long with mindset and get all the mechanics, then they can reach out to me and we'll get you set up. So I love this kind of blending. I love this marriage, and I think it's going to be great for a lot of dentists.
Yeah. And so the three aspects then will be the technical things that we'll go through. And and we can call it hand holding, but some of it just kind of, or call it holding the feet to the fire, or checking up, or sometimes that's saying someone inspect what you expect. So you
Right.
expect,
Yep.
and it's kind of the difference between is having a gym membership or having a personal trainer,
Right.
because some folks have the drive and motivation with a gym membership to actually use it and take advantage of that gym membership. And some people buy the gym membership and don't, unless they get the private trainer knocking on the door and saying, okay, let's
Yeah.
go. Like, I don't feel like it. Oh, you got to pay me anyway. Okay, I guess I'll do it. Okay.
Right.
And so it is the technical, it's the motivation, drive, and checking up and checking on the KPIs with them to kind of force them to look at the KPIs. And then is the unique part is the mindset,
Yeah.
is getting them excited about this, tying it to positive things, is that is completely unique and no one else has out there.
And you're an inspiration to me for that mindset. I mean, I'm here to help dentists get excited about dentistry, to live a fulfilling life, but you're always excited about dentistry. So what drives that excitement for you?
I don't know. I really am. It's, for me, it is like the best profession, in general. Is the healing professions, to me, is the most noble profession. A few years ago, my dad slipped and fell, and got a subdural hematoma. He's in the hospital for you know to drain it, and so he's getting some neurosurgery. And I'm walking in there, I'm going to this room, and it's almost like I had tears in my eyes seeing the nurses there, seeing the orderlies there, seeing the therapists there, seeing the surgeons there. I'm like, wow, what a noble profession each and every one of these people have, because I got a whole floor full of people. They just had brain surgery, and they're managing it, and just taking care of it. And most people is coming out of it is as good or better than before. And like, wow, is healthcare is such a noble profession. So I just get jazzed about health
Yeah.
in general. And somehow, is we stumble on the dental or oral surgical part of healthcare. And I'm especially excited about this. And and for me, I like to think through things and kind of is improve on things. And I think is, for me, surgery allows that. It is not mundane. It's not the same thing over and over. It's not assembly line. It's always a new challenge. Every situation's unique. Every patient's unique. So it keeps me excited. And then I think the other thing I like is, what I realize about myself is I like people. I just like people. And so whether it's patients, whether it's people in my courses, whether it's people I meet at the airport through my travels, on the airplane in my travels, I genuinely enjoy their stories, and everybody's got a unique story and a unique job and a unique way to make a living and unique history and unique future. And I get jazzed about all of that.
Oh, I love that you said that, because you and I both have introvert tendencies, and need to kind of back away when we get a chance to. But you're right. I love people too, even though I have those same kind of introverted desires in myself, I guess.
I'm not the guy that asks the questions when I sit down on my airplane seat. But when the guy next to me is the extrovert and starts chatting away, I like hearing those stories.
Well, right now, I think and it's pretty prevalent in dentistry, whether it's, you call it burnout or overstressed, or I think, a term that I use is dental exhaustion. People are just kind of tired of doing dentistry, but ultimately they're just not enjoying dentistry. And there's a lot of folks out there that are that way. And it doesn't have to be that way. You're an example of that. And your enthusiasm for dentistry is contagious. So I appreciate that. Well, I just want to say thanks again for coming on. This is always fun to talk, always fun to visit, and we'll do it again soon. Again, if people want to reach out to you, I think practicegrowthseminars.com would be a great place to start. How else do you want people to reach out to you if they can?
No, I make myself very available. As busy as I am, my direct cell number is, and I can give it 305-331-6481. That's my direct cell number. I usually don't pick up when I don't recognize the calls, because a lot of times it's robocalls and things, but text messages I'm great with. So, and then if we want to text and then set up a call, fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you very much. And I appreciate you coming on the show.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
This episode of the Better Dental Life podcast was brought to you by Better Dental Life. When you are ready to transform your life, transform your practice, and expand your income, become a member of Better Dental Life. You can find out more about us at betterdentallife.com. Make sure to search for the Better Dental Life podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, and click subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Better Dental Life, thank you for listening.